You're ready.
Yeah, except I've got this. Always do this.
Oh, my God.
No, I'm ruining it. Hang on just a
Your time's up.
That was easy. Okay, next.
Right, keeps on coming up.
Oh.
Nice work.
Stretched out.
No pressure. Why it had to go right before we start.
Oh,
Oh,
there we go.
you want to advance your slides or want me to do it?
We can do it. I don't give them a second. Anytime you're ready.
Whenever you.
Okay, good. Well, so, Jane sent out a little, few ideas, just a general guideline of what we might do. So where we're from, I'm born in Lafayette, Indiana, which is on the Wabash River. It's famous in Indiana. The Purdue University is there. My dad, my grandfather were both alums of Purdue engineers. Historically, it's where the Battle of Tippecanoe was. William Henry Harrison and Chief Tecumseh fought there. So with my dad said, just died in the home. Hoosiers, they homesteaded there, the family about 1840. My mom was from Chicago, definitely a big city girl. Went to Northwestern, graduated over there. We met my dad during the war. And, she was really thrilled to spent 40 years in a little Indiana town after being in Chicago. No.
There is no Marshall Fields.
No, but she got out. She did after 40 years.
Oh.
They went to Miami, Florida, not Miami, Arizona. So, all right, let's a little bit, so we can move on to our next slide. There we go. Yeah, so there's my St. Joan of Arc Catholic School, 1 through 8. So our French patron saint. So I started in first grade. Kindergarten was optional in Indiana, and there was a combination bridge club for moms and kindergarten for kids. And we had gone for 2 weeks on the way home in the car. She said, "Well, what do you think?" I said, "I don't like it." She said, "I don't like my bridge club," so we quit. Threw the car door open. I still remember it because it's just like, wow, and I had a whole year left. Like freedom. And so I ran in the house and turned on the Three Stooges. And so that's what shaped me. So let's see. The next one, this is fine. Yeah, this is beside my old, my dad's old limestone quarry. That it came out of Purdue, and that's what he did. So I grew up around the roots. And part of it was turned into a nature preserve.
Like the bridge?
Well, no, just it was for kayaking and boating on the river there. And that's my younger brother who was back. If you've seen Breaking Away, the movie, the cutters, that is a limestone quarries fill up with water because of the table, and you can swim, and we had keys, we went on the weekends in high school. Okay, so we can move along. This is at U of A. 3 out of 4 of my brothers went to U of A. My oldest brother at 62, I came at 69. And this is my fraternity, 1969 in Dallas, underneath what is now the mess hall. So I'm still best friends with 2 of the guys next to me. Let's see. Anyway, so I got, there's Sharon, I met her there. And she was a year behind me. And I got out of U of A, and there's a couple of pictures right there.
Well, you're behind only in school.
Yeah, you can. go ahead and
She was a
see
year
what's
ahead of you, years ahead of you probably.
next. That's all right, let's see what's next. Okay, now there's at Eighth Street and Third Avenue in Tucson, about a block from Caruso's in college. And that's my second car. My other car's on the corner, but a friend gave me a 1957 Boston taxi.
Oh,
The gift, and then so we drove that around in college. And it had no passenger seat, and we put a lawn chair. And no registration, English tags, and never got the liquor.
wow.
So that was two. Okay, so let's see what's next. This is Halloween, 1972. It's been a while since I had a haircut. And that's Sharon with the fangs.
Ah,
Okay. Let's see, what we got. Okay, so I'm a year ahead of her. I get done, and she transferred in state to California, Sonoma State,
no,
Petaluma, or Sarah's. And so this is just outside Petaluma.
nice,
Beautiful.
beautiful area.
So I'd say that year looms large, one of the greatest years in my life. Let's see what we have here. So anyway, so we can keep going. Now we're back in Tucson. My first job, I worked at a pathology lab. I got a psych degree, but I couldn't find a decent job in social sciences. Of course, and the pathologist in the lab was the medical examiner. I worked there 6 weeks, and he asked me to learn to supervise the Pima County Medical Examiner's Office. Out of the blue. So I did. This is my crew. Our last day of the party, but so I spent 5 years supervising the county department. So I thought I would save up stories for dinner. And I share more stories with you. My brother says I should write a book. I was there 5 years. I got some doozies.
Oh, yeah.
Working with homicide detectives.
Oh, geez.
Really fascinating stuff. So that the pathology job after 5 years led to pharma. I talked to doctors every day, got medical history, so I ended up with shearing out to sales rep here. Selling Claritin was what we did.
Oh, thank you.
So they moved me to Denver, so I went from here to there, became the district manager, and this is my team up in Colorado. And 18 years I spent there with that company, and I managed from the Canadian border to the Mexican border.
Wow.
So
That's the bowling
so there's Colorado, that's it. We got a cabin, not long after we got there, just up by our cabin. Rocky Mountain Park. And that's our cabin. So it was really,
You raised moose?
they hang around the driveway.
Oh, okay. So you didn't have a moose farm?
You do not get between the calf and the
Yes.
mom. Because that you do not do that. Okay.
I thought you were a moose rancher.
So let's see what we got here now. So yeah, the job led to Genentech at the year 2000. They were creating a new respiratory division. They were known for oncology. And a group of us from Sharing Cloud were recruited and went over there to start basically a company within a company. So I was one of the first 2 hires and had a training I managed for Milwaukee and Honolulu. But the place was very San Francisco based. Very,
Oh,
good,
there
very
you go.
totally good. This was the picture of our walk sheet.
Oh, yeah.
And those are our CEO and our founders in front.
Oh, that's
All my
funny.
favorite people. So you walk into the company headquarters and this is what.
That's what they say.
Yeah, totally cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, so that was that, and then we can do the next. So I thought I should appear appropriate.
There you go.
I worked in San Francisco. This actually was a costume party.
You had a lot of parties in your.
A lot of parties.
Parties.
That's streetwear in San Francisco.
I know, it would have been, but not a few years earlier.
Oh,
Yeah. So anyway, back to just some interest, really, travel. This is Paris, the white line. This is Northumberland, just we've done a lot in Latin America, Europe, a little bit now. This goes to interest, which is music. I was in a garage band, playing guitar and keyboards. And this was a full page local paper article about us, our band. It was 1967, the summer of love. And the guy wrote Kokomo's answer to San Francisco. That's what the title was. So that was a great experience, and still love music. We kept all our vinyl records. we probably 800 finalists.
Wow.
So, and that's basically the end of, except for why Rotary, because it's about making a contribution to the community. It's about making friendships. And I love the speakers, like last week, that was just great. And these are my two brothers. They're both Rotarians. My dad was too. And then finally, this was the last one. It's just from one of our Denver Cherry Creek fundraisers. It was our golf tournament. So 3 good buddies.
Great.
And that is it.
Claudine is next.
Thank you.
For the next one, right?
Next.
Whoa.
Good morning, everybody. I don't have something so detailed like Bill, but just a few slides. But the first one is just to make you dream.
Our house?
No, but this is a place where I was born.
Oh, beautiful.
And Carcassonne is the biggest fortified city in Europe. City, not castle. Because the castle is pretty small, but the city inside the wall is very big. And it has double walls. So it's very fortified.
You felt
It's a
safe.
very nice place to visit. So, yeah, I was born in Carcassonne and I studied in Toulouse. So you can go to the next one. I studied in Toulouse in communication, art, and at the Beaux-Arts of Toulouse. And then I started my company in France, which is called Marque Jaune. And it was a studio of design, graphic design. So we did a lot of advertising, visuals for the company. And I was there for 10 years. This is a logo type we create. It's the Marque Jaune, you know, the maillot jaune in the Tour de France. This is the winner.
Oh,
That's
nice.
why we
Yeah,
choose
the yellow jersey,
this
yeah.
logo. Yes. You can go to the next one. And my family, so I married an American. So I moved to America for love.
No.
30 years ago. And I had 2 daughters in America. Well, one is born in Phoenix, my oldest, and the other one was born in France. Because in the meantime, we went 3 years in France for my husband's job. Here, I am with my husband and my 2 daughters, Rachel and her fiancé. They're going to get married on July 12th. And my other daughter is a lawyer in Boston. Can go next. And what I love about Rotary, you know, is why I joined Rotary. It's really to help others. I have a passion to help people with disability, those who have not much luck in life, I would say. And here I am in Ghana, that was last year. We deliver some wheelchairs. I started working with the Wheelchair Foundation and I joined Rotary 10 years ago because I wanted to deliver more wheelchairs to the people in need. That was my first call. And then little by little, I got involved, and I'm not going to tell you about ICC and all the other ministries I got involved in. And what I like to do as a hobby is hiking. So here I am, so hiking. And that's all I have, right? No, I have another one. Okay. So this is because everything started for me in Ukraine. I started to help kids with disability in Ukraine. And this is the type of wheelchair that we deliver in Ukraine. I have currently a global grant with Ukraine, which is in the last phase of implementation. And you can see the type of very sophisticated wheelchairs for kids that we deliver on the center. Because in Ukraine, there was no pediatric wheelchairs, but they just use strollers, you know, baby strollers. I saw a young man, 21, he was in a baby stroller. Well, come on, this is not right. So that's the reason why I started this project. And the guy in the middle didn't have wheelchairs. Andrea, he's in Colombia. So this guy was lying on the floor and he got a wheelchair. So really nice. Yeah, that's I think that's all. Yeah.
Dale. Dale. Dale.
Where?
Dale.
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 You got-
You got 15 minutes.
Oh, 15.
Yeah, fine.
3, 2, 1. Well, I'm ringing this bell. So when we get close to 5 minutes,
I'll let you know.
We've got a big hook. I think you may need it. Well, I guess the best way to describe my life is a journey. A journey that's taken me many places that I never expected to be. This is one. Most of you know Dennis Green. He was here. Well, he brought me. He didn't bring me here physically, he brought me here mentally. For 10, 15 years, we would walk the streets of Greenock, in front of the house. We would chat about various things that he was discovering and inventing and all the things that he was learning and doing in Rotary Club. And he would always end the walk, say, Dale, Thursday morning breakfast, Rotary Club, come with me. I said, Dennis, that's not me. Well, that went on a long time. And as you know, Dennis passed away not too long ago. And it just kind of took me in that journey that I never expected to find. And I came to Thursday breakfast here without knowing anyone except for Carol. And Carol had lived in the neighborhood with her husband Bob and also met on Greenock. You know, you'd think by now I'd just stop walking the streets. But for me, it's been a way of connecting. It's been a way of finding out where I need to go. And when I came to breakfast that Thursday morning, and I looked out, saw most of you here, I knew this was a place that I needed to be. People who care and help others. And I thought, you know, growing up in a military family, the Air Force, spending time all over various parts of this country and some other countries that Dad was stationed in, I got to meet a lot of people that did help me through those times. A lot of people who I wanted to give back to. But I also noticed one important thing, and that's about me. You know, I am not as good at helping others as I am getting help. And I really did appreciate all that was given to me. My plans are always to continue giving back those things that have gotten to me. From Alaska to Nebraska to South Dakota, all over the place. Naples, Italy for 3 years. Big earthquake in Alaska was just a couple of months before we moved there. You know, people were putting up and dealing with all these tumultuous events. My brother grew up in the Minnesota area, where I spent a lot of time myself. And from there on, I was never just looking back, I was looking forward, wondering where I was going to end up. Now I'm glad I ended up here, because I know that all of you are in the same boat, wanting to get out, do things for good. And I want to belong here in a way that I had never expected to. Really glad to be here. And I hope to be part of this group for an awful long time. So being happy to have you, man.
Okay. Yeah. Those are three tough acts. I'll take you on a little bit of my own journey. And first of all, I want to say my last name is Trudeau. And when Pierre Trudeau was Prime Minister of Canada, some of you are probably old enough to remember that. And then, of course, most recently, Justin Trudeau, I got asked all the time when I was a kid, even when Pierre was Prime Minister, are you related? Of course, it's a man, you know, you go and you write a check to somebody, remember what writing checks was about? And I'd always say, oh. And then I got interested in genealogy a while back. Somehow I acquired this family tree computer program. We had a relatively new computer. It was something I could do on it. Wasn't a lot else I could do on it at first. And lo and behold, I found out I am related. And so I keep this on my phone because I can never quite remember exactly what it is. So Pierre Trudeau was my fourth cousin, 2 times removed. Justin Trudeau, interestingly enough, was my 5th cousin, but only 1 time removed.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
don't ask me to explain.
Yeah, please.
Go back far enough and all related, you know?
Thank you for that lead-in. Years ago, when I lived in upstate New York, one of the places we used to go and take our kids was Ottawa. About a 4-hour drive north. Believe it or not, we went there for their winter festival. We actually lived in snow country. We went north for vacation. But it was really cool. And it's a really neat town if you ever get a chance to go there. And the Canadian archives are there. And so what I discovered is that Canadians are wonderful people. They're so kind, they're so giving. I would go into the Canadian archives. I would tell my wife, why don't you take the boys down to, you know, ice skating or whatever was going on. I'm going to go to the archives for a couple. I got a few questions. And they would pull out these books of voting rolls from small little towns in Quebec from the 1800s. And these were the actual pages that people signed. It wasn't digitized at that time. I'm dating myself a little bit here. And it was absolutely amazing. And so I discovered that, yes, there was a Trudeau who came over from France in like 15, I wish I'd sure looked this up, sorry, but in the 1500s to Quebec. And he was a master carpenter and he was a very prominent citizen in Montreal and he helped build the old city of Montreal. So I was back there now years later for a conference and I had some time the first day. And I heard that there was a plaque on the wall where he and his wife lived, not house long, that's the location. So I went on this quest with the help of all those nice Canadians that I wanted to do with the tourist center and here and there. And I found it. In the course of which I thought, I wonder where he's buried. And they said, well, you need to go to the cathedral. And it's amazing. If you go to Montreal, see that cathedral, it's amazing. And so I went down and I told them, and they said, oh, you need to go talk to this guy in the archives. And so he said, well, he was probably so prominent he was buried underneath the old cathedral, but when they built a new one, they allowed the family to relocate if they wanted to. Montreal is, by the way, has the largest Catholic cemetery in North America. But no records were kept, so we don't know. And then he told me, he said, would you like to see their marriage certificate? And I said, he said, tell you what, I'll make you a copy. You come back in an hour. So he made me a copy. Of course, it's like this big, you know. And he went through it. Oh, yeah, this is the mayor, whatever, you know, and signed it that way. So that's where the original Trudeau came from. And if you open up a phone book in Montreal, yeah, there's a lot of them. There's all sorts of different ones. Anyway, sorry, I digress. So I was born in Portland, Oregon. My folks had traveled out in the early 50s. My father was a trombone player. I graduated after the war from doing the conservatory in Boston, we moved from Boston. I'm telling you this because this will all come back around at some point. They got their car and drove out west. I think all of their relatives thought, you know, they were heading to the Wild Wild West. And I heard later when they coming down the Columbia Gorge when month by, I can't believe, I don't know where I'm at. I was born in Portland, grew up there. I was similarly disinclined towards kindergarten. Apparently, my mom took me down with my then oldest sister and turned around and walked home. I turned around and followed her home. And they got back home and my sister said, "Mom, it's here." And there I was. Years later, when we were in upstate New York, we had twin boys and one of our boys went to kindergarten. Well, one tried to follow me back home. So I guess.
Your bad influence.
I grew up in Portland. I was always interested in music. Music was a kind of required subject at our house. My father got what he called right arm disease, which he became a conductor. He was a faculty member at Florida State. I went to Florida State University, majored in music. Eventually graduated from Western Washington University, and then moved to Seattle for a few years. This is now in the late 70s. I don't know if you, how many of you are familiar with the Great Music Festival in Southern Oregon? Leon knows it. So my father was the founder of the Great Music Festival. In 1963, he discovered this little town called Jacksonville, Oregon, Southern Oregon. Big Valley where the Oregon Shakespearean Festival, Ashland, Oregon, and kind of oriented a little bit. And I was 10 years old, and so I grew up every summer living in Southern Oregon and my father's music festival. And I graduated and became, I think, librarian and stage manager, and then assistant percussion player. And finally, I was good enough on the trombone to join the trombone section. And in the late 70s, this young lady from California came up to play violin. And we were a summer romance that kept on going. It's been going for more than 40 years now. We decided we wanted to go back to graduate school. I was living in Seattle. She was in San Jose. And so we went back to Boston. Same thing, we're back over there. And we got in her 66 Volkswagen Bug with a roof rack and 2 bikes hanging off the back. Our air conditioning was those wing windows, like this. And we drove across the country. We almost didn't make it. We get to Las Vegas or somewhere in Nevada, and smoke started coming out. I thought, oh no. But that was just the oil of leaked, and that was a easy fix. So back in Boston, went to graduate school, worked for the Yeoman Conservatory of Music for about 4 years. Then we went to upstate New York. Did a great job there. And it was there in about, I think, 1988, maybe 878. I forget what I put down on my earlier list, but that's where I joined the Rotary Club Meeting. I remember that date. I remember the date a couple weeks ago. We talked about women in Rotary. And the president of the institute that I worked for was in Rotary. And he invited me to join. He said, I was going to quit if they didn't accept women. But once they accepted women, he said, oh, I'm not going to quit. George, I think you should come to a meeting. So that was my first Rotary Club. Great experience. We were relatively new in town. And like all of you, I found my tribe, so to speak, you know, giving back to the community, great friendships, great fellowship. And a town that we didn't have any family in, all of a sudden they got a lot of family. You know, and so raised our family there. We thought we were musicians. I was still playing trombone professionally, even though I had to start some administration job now, which came with benefits. That was really nice, especially when you start your family. So but we were out a lot. So we thought, well, we'll have one child and see how that goes. We had twins. But we stopped. We were smart enough to stop right there. So we raised our family in Utica, New York. And then, when they were juniors in high school, Penn State University came along and said, we'd like to have you come down and join our faculty and run the Performing Arts Center at Penn State. So I did that, commuted 350 miles a year, for a year, so the boys could finish high school. My wife had moved seriously from Maryland back to California when she was halfway through her senior year, so she didn't want to put her voice in that. I got it. Someone always said to me, you know, when you raise twins, things happen all at once in the world. So every phase of their life, and that last phase of high school, in Naples, small enough town, we knew everybody, they knew everybody, and to graduate from high school. But I did take them down at Penn State, and of course they fell in love. They applied to a lot of schools, got a lot of schools, but they decided to come to Penn State. So the other thing people would say, what do you think are they gonna go to the same college? And I would say it would only be a coincidence, right? Well, they went to the same university. And we had a great 18 years at Penn State. They graduated, and they got great jobs. One's in Seattle now, and the other's in Philadelphia. And they have now 5 grandchildren. Yeah. Including a 2-month-old. You won't see the last 2 weeks of May because we have back-to-back family trips. Visits. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
Someone said, never do that. Well, you can't say no to family, right? So, so then I joined the State College Rotary Club in State College, Pennsylvania. New to town, family, my tribe, so to speak. Those, by the way, were 2 lunch clubs. I looked at breakfast clubs, you know, performing arts are out every day. And dinner clubs didn't really work because I'm out every night, right? So I'm getting used to the breakfast club, guys. But now I'm retired, so it's a lot easier, of course. I love to hike. I love to bike. I love Laurel Valley because the biking out here is so terrific. Love to swim at the rec center. It's a great resource. My wife and I go under the water and go scuba diving. We discovered that just about maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Someone told me once, when you're young, everything is new. So if you want to feel young again, try something new. So we tried scuba diving, and we really love it. And we really love being here. Just quickly, we didn't, after COVID and we were retired, we were going to do a trip. She's from California. I thought that's where we're going back, you know. They can't take California out of the girl, right? And I got it. But as part of that journey, we ended up in Phoenix. Our Seattle son said, can we come a week later than planned? Well, what are we going to do for a week? I had colleagues here at the university, didn't say, and we came down here, and by the end of that week, we were looking at open houses. Then we came back for 2 weeks that fall, 2 months the following spring, went back, sold our house, and here we are. So I'm sure that story probably resonates with many of you. I probably left a few things out because I'm kind of a little bit winging it here, but I just want to thank you for, especially John and Gary, who are sponsors for me to this club. Thank you for welcoming me in, giving me the opportunity to be part of what you do with this community.
Thank you.
Yeah, then round.
Then round.
So I'm gonna get it also for the slides. I'll try to keep it less than a half hour long. My life almost started with murder. I'm the oldest of 3 kids, and my dad was a bowler that bowled 7 days a week at the time. And my mother decided one night that it was time to go to the hospital. He called his sister who lived in town. He said, well, watch over mom. I'll be back before the big sport. And luckily I wasn't for 30 in the morning. So there wasn't a murder dog here. So I've got, I grew up in a little town in Michigan, 2 sisters,
we each have our oldest are all blondes, our youngest are all redheads. My oldest, had his first one was a redhead, and I told him he did it in the wrong order. So they tried again, and they had a second redhead. So he's got two redheaded boys to take care of. But, I developed in electronics when I was like fourth grade, I think this is the space program and stuff like that. And, got out of high school, which didn't. Rock school, which was what I wanted to do, but I got into technical college, I got a 2-year degree, and then I ended up working for RCA. Luckily, I think all of you are. And I worked there for 19 years, finally got into the digital phase, and I didn't want to do it. My wife had got a job as a computer consultant. So during the Y2K period, I worked for 5 years installing payroll and HR systems. Out of that, I did a snap run in a warehouse for 5 years and purchasing. Somewhere between there, I worked at UPS loading semi trailers. And I was twice the age of everybody else, but I was sure I was gonna. Retired, and my wife and I decided to travel in one of 2 RVs for a number of years. And that's how we found Tucson. We got a friend in Silver, and I just love it. And then retired again, and then got working for botany courses. And during COVID, I worked for an NIH corporate study at the university and worked for. My wife, my first wife, we were very happy for 11 years. The second one, we were actually married 32 years. She just passed away in October. She had rheumatoid arthritis. She got it when she was 21, which is before any of the miracle drugs. So she spent 50 years dealing with that, and finally her body just said that. But Bruce got me started. Bruce Grant got me started. He actually sucked me into the our HOA. He was in my neighborhood. He got us sucked into the HOA, so I joined. Yeah, and was an officer in it for a while. And then Bruce left. Yes, after he got me going.
Yeah.
Well, come to think of it, he got me in here,
And
and
then,
then he left again. So it's a common thing for me. But I've always enjoyed helping people in any way I can, and the Rotary just clicked, just fit. Apparently, I think I'm one of the truck drivers for next year's Polo Valley. I have experience in the RV, and it was fine, except I need a really new camera. But other than that, I'm cool.
yeah,
So, but
try to get that next year.
okay, but that was very enjoyable doing that. And continue.
If only we had an election that could set that up.
Oh, yeah. So, I think that we're wireless by then. But yeah, I really, like I said, I really enjoy it here, and enjoy all the speakers and all the people who work with continue on. That's my life. So, but I'm gonna be gone the next 2 weeks. My sister-in-law and I are driving up to Washington to deliver a car back to Snowbird. And so we're gonna hike on the way there. We're gonna go to Bryce and other things. So we decided to put 2 weeks and just.
Thank you.
And now,
Today is a remarkable day. It's my daughter's birthday. And she's 40. And how this beautiful blue-eyed blonde little girl got to be 40 is something I don't understand.
I don't remember any of it between.
Well, I didn't age. But I have, I wish I had pictures that I have. She's beautiful. I have 2 beautiful granddaughters who are objectively beautiful and intelligent. although I got one granddaughter doing a power cord, so I grounded her. Hey, thank you for drinking.
Yeah, I knew I didn't have to do the joke.
So, I only brought one slide, I'll get to that. But I was born in Seattle, grew up in Tacoma, spent a lot of my youth hiking, camping, fishing. Went to Washington State University in Tacoma, have a degree in English. From there I went to, this was 1970, jobs were hard, but I got a good job working for a college textbook publisher in Northern Ohio, where I called on college campuses. And I was there 10 years. I loved that job. Hated Ohio. I couldn't wait to get out of Ohio. Gave it up. We moved to Eugene, Oregon. Took a temporary job as a forklift driver for the building materials. 35 years later, I retired from that job. I did primarily purchasing, inventory control, logistics, and IT. And so I was responsible for moving heavy materials from one end of the country to the other and getting it to the right place at the right time and the right point. But I did that after 35 years, so I retired. I got to retire for a week. Then I went to work for my wife's law firm as an office manager. And she had Sanders Law Group in Evans, Washington. It was an elder law firm. And so estate planning attorneys plan on maintaining your assets, saving your assets after you die. Elder law attorneys do that, and they protect you while you're alive. So we did a lot of vulnerable adult protection stuff, and that was the major highlight of what I did, was helping out with that. So we were able to save clients hundreds of thousands of dollars. We saved houses. We did a lot of protection. So when you look at this, we need a plan for office of care. One does all the work, one goes AOL, one does defensive decisions, or one steals for stuff. That happens more than you want. It happens a lot, especially when there's money. So we did just a few stories. Daughter came to my wife and said, my mom has sold her house, part of the romance scheme. She sold it to a realtor that pays cash. The guy was going to send money to some guy in New York. He said, well, once I get the money and complete this deal, sweetheart, I'll come and live with you and we'll be happy. The house and the deal had closed. It was done. My wife got involved. She got the house back. And real estate attorney said, you can't do it. But she did. Another case involving the house was where a nursing home who were going to actually kill this woman's husband, died of sepsis. And they wanted to get paid, and the only way they would get paid is to kick her out of the house. And my wife spent 2.5 years fighting to keep this woman in the house, because if you took her out of her house, she was could eating die. She was 90 years old, and she tried, and Peggy tried to settle. She tried to get payments. She tried to tell her weight, and opposing counsel were to cooperate. They wanted the house. They had to take that woman out, 90-year-old woman, out of the house and get that house. And the courts couldn't handle it. They didn't know what to do. The courts aren't set up to handle people who are aging, who are suffering, just not good at it. So she was able to drag it out. I mentioned she got a reverse mortgage on the house, paid on the nursing home, and the woman was able to spend her last years in her house. But that took 2.5 years constant struggle. Lots of sleepless nights. Another one where she was called in to help a gentleman who had been taken care of by his stepdaughter. The inspectors who checked in on the circuit wretched. So she got it out of that situation and put him in a place where he was well cared for, well fed, well dressed, and he's been for the past months of his life. So, and kind of on the opposite side, because a person's freedom is important. She was asked by a son whose dad was 9 years old and was going to marry a 60-year-old. And the son was convinced. So, yeah, the end result is if you're 90 years old and you want to marry a 60-year-old caregiver, then you can do it. There's nothing that can stop you. But she was able to set up a trust that at least protected some of his assets. So if the caregiver wanted to start making a bunch of money, he'd have enough to last the rest of it. So that worked out well, and the son and the dad were able to reconcile. So, another one where she was called in to help an elderly gentleman whose daughter was caregiver, but the daughter took his money and spent it for him on a BMW convertible. Did a bunch of other stuff. Took away his little dog. This guy loved his little dog. He was in a wheelchair and that's terrible. So she was able to fix that and get the guy good care. And this woman kept writing paid emails for the 2 years after came about how she ruined her life. So that was being part of that and being able to watch the process was really educational. And to see what it takes as we become seniors in order to protect ourselves. Know what happening. So the rule is, or I guess my legal advice is, as part of your estate planning for the power of attorney, make sure you have that power of attorney that will protect them. And now we came to Oro Valley last July. So my wife could spend another winter in Seattle, so we can have a nice house. We're happy to be here. I'm just thrilled to be part of this group. Like it's home for me, I think we're Thank you.
Who's happy today? We're all happy. I'm happy. That was a terrific, five speakers. We're so happy to have all of you. Some great stories. Karen.
So nice to get to know our newer members better. Thank you.
This is for all the speakers. Welcome, all you new Rotarians. It's great to have you here. Put you all to work. A good time at this meeting. This is for Brooke McHale. Okay, I know Leo knows her. Okay, she was our first new generation service exchange that went to Spain last year. She is an outstanding individual. She was the president of the Road Rack Club in the University of Arizona and this year, and she was just awarded outstanding senior of the year. And this last one is a sad dollar. Rihanna and I are leaving on Wednesday, and we'll see you on September the 9th.
All right. Have a great time.
We can zoom in.
Yeah.
We're all sad now.
I will.
Yeah.
Happy dollar for all our speakers. It's great to see all of you.
Oh, keep it coming.
And sad dollar because I have to Take a trip to California. That's my sister.
Happy dollar for all of our new members and speakers, and I'd like to ask after the raffle, if you could all come up front so I can get a group photo.
I got $2. Want to share all the wonderful speakers. One for our women's softball team, which will be playing at 3 o'clock today. And one of our gals, I can't remember her name, was the number one Pac-12 softball player. Years Pac-12 softball. I mean, Big 12.
It doesn't exist anymore.
Big 12.
Right.
Beaver. I know. Well, I guess I put in two, getting two.
Hey, great new Rotarians, just adding the pot here.
All right. Yeah.
Great getting to know all the new members. Thank you for all of your contributions and talks. It was very interesting. And another $50 to all the moms for Mother's Day.
Sunday.
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 That's okay. I'm down. It's on two ends. Welcome to the club. Great. Yeah, glad to hear about you.
I have $100 for our new members. And I also have some sad news. 2 years ago, we had a member come into our club, join our club, Maria Campments, and she passed away this week. She had to leave us too early because she was having cancer battle, and she spent her last year plus living in Iowa with her sons and grandchildren. So it's on Facebook, and I'm making a contribution to our foundation.
I thought it was her sister. It was her.
It was her.
Yeah.
Did you go to Miami for a while?
Yes, so she
Okay.
went to visit a sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was her sister. I must have.
Then I'll put in the hand.
I forgot my cash, so here's, I owe you. Remember, well, just remember.
It doubles every day, right?
I know, are we the class of 25?
Yeah, you're the class.
Here's the class of 25.
That's what the caption on the picture will say.
There we go. And a bunch of happy dollars, because I feel like I've introduced myself to the club, and you're not gonna see me for a while. I'll be in and out a little bit over the summer, but I'm gonna prepay all those dollars. I would have been happy because I'm happy to have you.
Glad to be here, glad to be part of the new group, and we called out.
Yeah, this is for our new members and the really inspiring stories of this. Yeah.
Great visit. Is there anybody left in Washington or?
Yeah, they're all here.
There's so many.
So happy to have so many new members and happy to be back after missing one.
All right, well, I put mine in electronically, happy and a sad, happy, again, this is a great club, I'm happy to be here. Happy for the new members, they're going to be great, they already have been, we've already seen good production out of them, you know, for Taste of Laurel Valley. Sad though, because we already lost one of our. Haley has decided she can't continue as a member. She was hoping that her organization would pay for her dues for one thing. The other thing is she's having to take on 2 more jobs, so she doesn't have time.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll check Stephen.
I have one in here.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I marked. There it is. There it is. There it is. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Let me make sure. 597. Oh, yeah. 597. It better not.
Who's got it?
There it is. Right there.
Okay, Amos, you win $5, including a $2 bill.
That was it.
And well, she hasn't been here for a while.
Where's
So that was an honor of Jerry.
By the way, I'm having breakfast with Jerry tomorrow.
Oh, give more best.
I will do that. He was on today. I didn't get a chance to say hi. Davis, we're looking for the parts.
And the deck is getting small, everybody. It's
Yeah.
higher chance of winning.
Parts.
Yeah, let's see, 1, 2.
Except that I took that card out last week.
5 of hearts.
The 5 of hearts. The king of hearts is over there in the drawer. Yeah.
That's terrible. Okay, I just want to say something about Gene. Okay. Gene Medina is sitting right over there. He's visiting us today. He's been, recently he's with the Sunset Club. Okay, and Gene and I have worked together now for about 2 or 3 years on something to do with Guatemala, either in Guatemala or trying to get more interest in it in our own district. We've also took on an assignment, which was kind of blessed by the district governor Sue, to educate the rest of the clubs in this district about international service beyond Mexico, okay, or beyond your own community, which is not international, obviously. And I think if I get our numbers right, about 70% of the clubs in District 5500 do not do anything.
That is correct.
Big number. And the ones that do, most of them are doing something in Mexico, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, that's wonderful. It's nearby. But you know, there's the rest of the world, and I'm not just talking about Guatemala. Right? Where's our friend back there, our ICC national coordinator, you know, Claudine. There's a lot more to do. So let's try to make peace in the world. That's one of the things that we can do through Rotary. And she and I are going to do a lot here this year with our lovely lady characters.
And I hate to extend the meeting any longer, but I do want to tag on to that. The theme for this year's district conference is peace. We have 2 wonderful peace speakers coming. One is a Rotary Peace Fellow, Dr. Susan Hartley. She's also a gender rights advocate, great speaker, and also a local speaker who I work with the Center for Community Mediation and Facilitation. So we've got some really good speakers and good breakouts, but peace is definitely on our minds. All right, stand and let's adjourn the 4-way test.
I work.
Claudine, I don't think you've done it for a while.
Beneficial to all concerned. Have fun.
Yeah, the new members up and then we gotta go to Yoda.
Another area.
Yeah.
Where do you want to?
Just in front of the Rotary. Quick, quick.
Thank you.
Claudine? We gotta go, we gotta. Come on for a bit, so
She was always.
Hey, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Well, yeah. Okay, 1, 2, 3.